If you look up here on the wall, I have all the safety rules and the steps to using this. So if you forget what you need to do, you can read that. If you still don't feel confident about doing it, watch the demonstration on Canvas first, okay? So if you guys look at the safety rules, first thing it says there, anybody with long hair must pull it back in a ponytail. So that's why I have my hair back in a ponytail today and will for the rest of this week most likely. If you need a band of some sort, I have rubber bands over there on the brown table. It's not really that comfortable, but you know, it'll get your hair out of the way. The second one says sleeves must be pushed up past the elbows. With it being winter and everybody being cold in here except for Yante, you want to make sure that if you have long sleeves, roll them up and put them past your elbow, okay? So Mariana's not cold either. All right, so the next thing is nothing should be hanging from your neck. So if you have a necklace like I do, you want to make sure that you have it tucked in inside of your sweater or shirt. If you have strings on your hoodie, all of you guys need to make sure that those are tucked in, okay? Do not be wearing your earbuds when you're coming up here with this because, again, that's hanging down, so leave those at your table, all right? Everybody clear on those? And then the last step is that you need to make sure that you have goggles on or glasses. So if you have glasses, you're fine, but everybody needs to have goggles, okay? All right, good on that? So here's the reason why we have all these safety reasons. I'm going to turn this on and you can see for yourself. This spins, it rotates. So we don't want to have anything hanging off of us that could be caught around that wheel and then it gets pulled, okay? So if you can envision those awful things happening, hopefully that'll scare you into making sure you follow all of these rules, okay? So make sure that you don't have anything hanging, okay? So, polishing order. There is an order with this, just like with the filing and the sanding, all of that stuff. Triply, which is over here on this side, it's labeled on the buffing wheel, is the first one, okay, and it's listed there on that sheet again. The second one is the rouge, okay, so what do you think the triply does? It gets rid of what? What? Gets rid of what? The 600 grit lines, okay, and then the rouge will then get rid of the triply lines, okay. Even though you look at that triply and you'll think, okay, this can't get any shinier, and then you go to the rouge and then it shows you were wrong, okay. So triply is first. Now the nice thing about this, there's a nice and a bad thing with this, is that I would partner up with somebody if you can, okay. Today we may not be able to because there's just a few people who are doing this. And you kind of partner up and like one person can polish for a little while their piece is trying to cool off, then the next person could go and kind of polish until their piece gets too hot. Because this wheel spins, it does generate a lot of heat on these metal pieces, especially for those of you who have copper, which copper is known for conducting heat very well. That's why a lot of people have copper pipes in their homes for their hot water line, okay? So you'll notice that it does get hot. So the next thing it says on here is procedure. Support your metal by placing it on top of a small wedge. So these are the wedges. And even though it's kind of hard to tell, they are covered in masking tape, and that's just to protect your metal piece from getting scratched on it. You want to make sure that whenever you are using the polishing wheel, that you always have your metal supported by this wedge. Do not have that piece hanging off of here and then take it over here and push that into there because you will bend the metal. Because even so, when it starts to heat up, what heat does to metal is it actually softens it, it anneals it. So if you're doing that, it's very possible if this is hanging off, you'll just bend the metal. So please make sure that you have it completely supported by this wedge, okay? The next thing says you can start turning on the buffing wheel, okay? I'm not gonna do it quite yet, but I'm gonna show you guys this stuff too. So this is the polishing compound, okay? This stuff isn't really any different than the sandpaper that you're using. The only difference is that the sand is so small that it doesn't actually work well on the paper. So that's why they have to put it in these compounds. And then they color them so you know which one is which. So triply is always brown and the rouge is always red, okay? So all that you do, turn this on, okay? And all you need to do with this is just kind of tap that a couple times, that's it. And that will put just enough of that compound on that wheel for you to polish. Now to be very honest with you guys, there's probably enough polishing compound already on the wheel, so you don't have to worry if you don't put this on there. Don't worry, you probably are still covered if you start to notice, and I'll turn this off so you guys can hear me a little better. If you start to notice a lot of buildup down here, just like this gunky stuff, it's telling you that there's probably too much polishing compound on the wheel. So, and that happens sometimes on this project. So again, if you forget to put that on there, don't worry, you're probably still covered, okay? So there's that. So now I'm going to go ahead and start. I'm going to show you guys how to do this. So basically what you want to do is just find an area to start. If you've ever played volleyball, okay, the way that you hold your hands to pass, okay, is a good way to hold this piece. So one of the biggest problems with this project that I find a lot of times with kids is that they don't hold on to their project enough. And if you notice, this spins. So if you don't have a good grip on it, this wheel could grab your piece, pull it, and fling it back there into that metal grate, which will cause it to scratch up, okay? So you want to make sure you have a good grip on this, okay? So I'm going to start this. I'm going to show you how to do this. So try to come to the side so you can see. All right, so what I do when I do this is I just put my hands on the floor of the polishing, or the buffing wheel. So then I'll just hold it like this, and then I just lift it up and push it into the bottom of the wheel. You hear that sound? That sound is what you want to hear when you push that into there. If you don't hear that sound, you're not putting enough pressure from your metal to that buffing wheel. And I'm kind of going around in little circles. So a lot of people ask me a few questions like, how do you get the edge? If you're doing a good job, again, of pushing that metal up onto the bottom of this wheel, then the cotton, this is just a cotton wheel, will wrap itself around those edges and get those, okay? You want to make sure, again, that you're here on the bottom, you're pushing it up, not down here, not up here, because again, you'll get caught in that wheel and it'll trip it back, okay? So make sure you're on the bottom and you're pushing up just like this. Just make sure your wrists are down there, okay? To get the middle, so the middle is another part that a lot of people ask me questions about. So what I do is I put my metal against the wedge, and I put my thumbs on either side of the metal like this, okay? And then I just let the wheel go in between my thumbs. Now, don't get scared. This is just a cotton wheel, okay? Just a cotton wheel. So if it does touch you, it's not going to do anything to you, okay? So I'll show you how to do the middle. So again, put your thumbs on either side, okay, like this, and then just let the wheel go in between. And just push it up. See? It's like magic. All right, and then I'll just, I would turn it around and get that part. Now, this is already starting to, touch that, feel that. It's already starting to get warm, okay? You can feel how warm it is. If it gets, you want to be careful that you don't polish so much that then it just is too hot to handle and you burn yourself, because I've had that happen. You want to make sure that when it gets kind of hot, because metal conducts heat, just sit it right on top there. And the metal on this casing will actually draw the heat away from the metal a little bit faster, okay? And then when you're waiting for your piece to cool, let somebody else take a turn on it, and then by the time theirs gets too hot, you can go back to it, okay? So that's why I would partner up. You can trade off, okay? Now, there can be people working on the Tripoli and on the Rouge at the same time. So we can have as many as 4 people kind of taking turns on this. On the big day, which will probably be Black Day, I'll have another buffing wheel out so we can have another, just try to get everybody covered, okay? So that's it.